What's up, guys? Today I've got a review for you. I've got two different pairs of boots from Alpha Western Wear. Got some black Caymans, cognac ostrich. Both of these are authentic, and both of these are under $300 to your door. Now, first I want to start off with my favorite of the two. Um, these just tend to be the ones that I'm wearing more often. I like the versatility. I like I don't know, just how they go with things, I guess. Um, they're relatively comfortable, and I think a lot of that I can credit to just having been worn and broken in and such. But as you can see, I mean, these boots aren't trash, they're not being worked in, but they are worn. If you look at this other pair that has been worn less, you can kind of see a little bit of the embossed logo that was on the sole there. Um, this one still has it, of course, but a lot less. And then you can also see on the heels, this one is still pretty intact. This one's starting to wear down, just like how all my other boots do. Um, I wouldn't say that has anything to do with poor quality or anything, which I think a lot of people have reservations about. I know that I did as well before I finally pulled the trigger on these. Um, that's just wearing them and just how boots are made. Um, I don't know how many times I've worn these and um, what my different, I guess, places and things that I did in them uh, go towards the wear and I guess how quickly they will wear down. Um, but I've worn them a fair amount of times, enough that I can confidently give a review or an opinion. When I first saw these, I almost thought they were too good to be true, just price wise. If you look at their website, they sell three different types of boots. So they have the first ones that you're probably going to see most of the ads for that are like $70, $100, $150. All of those ones are prints. All of those ones are made in Mexico. If you go on their website, if you go under the genuine exotics, underneath of that, you can find a couple different options. Um, both pairs of these boots that I have here came out of that section. These ones, like I said, are just under $300 shipped. These were a couple dollars more than the ostrich pair. They have different colors, different sizes. With the Caymans, they had a lot of different ones that were the same on the bottom here, but had different designs on the shafts. The ostrich, for these ones in particular, there was a few less options. Under that genuine exotics page, I have ones that are authentic ostrich that are from the belly. It'll be smooth. Feel how it's all smooth. They have boots that are originally all that smooth ostrich skin, and then they imprint them just like they would with cowhide leather to make the prints. These, however, are not. These are full quill. You can tell. I mean, they really are the real deal. And if you look at both the boots, they do look slightly different. They're not exactly uniform, whereas a lot of the prints are going to look exactly the same from one foot to the other. You can tell, especially on these Cayman boots, that they're different. As I say, I don't know if you can see, but one of these scales is kind of different right here, whereas the other boot doesn't have that, and the pictures didn't have that, which is cool because they're real. You know, that's just part of the imperfections of nature. Anyways, if you go under that section, they'll have those. These are going to be the authentic skins that were produced in Mexico, and that's going to be that $200 to $300 range. And then they have boots that cost more, that are $400, $500, $600, which is about the going rate for a lot of these kind of things. Those ones are going to be made in America. I haven't bought any of those yet. Personally, I don't know if I would go out of my way to pay like a normal price for boots from Alpha, but I think for the price point for that $200 to $300, you really cannot beat these. I mean, you can go to your feed store and you can buy a pair of just basic Ariat boots. I mean, I'm sure you could grab some of the other brands. Tony Lama probably makes some. You can get horsepower that are through Anderson Bean, but you're not going to get anything quite like this. You're not going to get authentic exotics. All of those boots that you buy for that $200 price are also going to be made in Mexico, just like these. I think these are out of Leon, Mexico. I could be wrong there, but pretty certain they are. Be considered like a cowboy boot capital of the world. Very, very many different brands get their boots out of that area. So these really aren't going to be too much different from what you can find from some of the more well-known companies. Like I said, I haven't bought their cheaper boots that are just prints. Just the look, maybe it's not a bad idea. Like I said, I haven't tried their American-made boots either, but these are the Mexican-made, authentic, exotic skins, and I am very happy with them. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about a couple different points of them. Like I said, I've worn these a good handful of times, and they've been very comfortable. I mean, right when you first get any new pair of boots, they take a little bit to break in, but these broke in pretty quickly. Actually, I bought them and took them to a concert as my break-in. I drove basically all day wearing these, and then went to a concert, and then wore them on the way back home. And I was really expecting to hate myself. I threw a pair of Hey Dudes in my bag, thinking that I was gonna have my feet being really sore, and that was not the case. These were super comfortable. They broke right in, like I was showing you earlier. They have a full leather stitched insole. It's just in there. This is more of a traditional way of making these boots. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could add like a little foam insole on top. But once you get these and you wear them for just a little bit, this thing will start to mold to your feet, and these will fit you really well. I know a lot of guys were talking about the quality of the soles, and I'm not sure that they're the highest quality. I don't think these boots are exactly a nice handmade, American-made Anderson Bean or anything, but I would compare these pretty closely with their Horsepower line, with their authentic exotics that they offer through them that are also Mexican-made. These soles, they're obviously real leather, stacked leather heels, and these actually also have a leather spur shelf back there. I don't know that I would ever be putting spurs on these boots exactly. I don't know that I'm going to be riding in them or working in them for that matter. But for a going out boot, they are excellent for just a day-to-day comfortable boot. They're not half bad. I don't think that they would take too terribly to that, to be honest, to ride in them or to work in them. I don't think it would be awful. I just know that there are some other materials maybe or other brands that might be a little better suited for that. But for going to town, going out, date night, rodeo, whatever you want to do, these aren't half bad. Whether you're at a stock show or a horse show, maybe for your nicer boots, these aren't bad either. I think they could do what you need to do. A couple people were asking about the soles. I think they're pretty good. I'm not going to say they're the highest quality leather sole ever, but they are pretty good. Nice thing, it's kind of different, is when you get these, they are coated, and you can kind of tell right there still that they have like a, I don't know if it's a clear coat or what type of coating is on this leather. You can tell the sides are still a little bit shiny, but they are not completely raw. They have something on them, which makes them a little bit slick, but at the same time, I think it'll help prolong the life of them, make them a little more durable, a little more water resistant, hopefully hold up a little bit better. Obviously, the rubber on the heel is just pretty standard stuff. I haven't noticed anything good about or indifferent about them. They're just there. You've got your nails and your lemon wood pegs there. Kind of a more traditional way to make these. Not really sure the quality of that. To me, it seems just fine. Like I said, wearing them. The one thing I have noticed that is a little bit different about these is if you can look on the edges of the soles there where the stitching is, you can tell that the stitching actually is kind of recessed. There's a little piece that's been like skived out, and the stitching is put inside of there, which is really cool because I've never actually seen that. I was gonna say, I've got Anderson Beans, I've got bought a pair of boots through that Cody James branded Boot Barn. I've got Lucchese's, I've had Ariats. I'm not sure that I'm gonna buy much more of them, but I've had all these other different brands, and although they may not be better than all of them, but I think they're up there. But I've never seen that kind of styling. I don't know if that's their deal or maybe somebody else is doing it that I'm just not aware of. But I thought that was kind of cool. It's something I give them credit for that I like. Double stitching all the way around that. I believe that's the welt right there. The pull straps that they have on these things, they're thick. I mean, that's a good 1.5 inches, 2 inches where usually they're quite a bit thinner, you know. But I like the design. Let's say on these, it looks like they have the skin up on the top, on these as well. And then obviously they have the little concho. I don't even know what that's made of. It's like a brass material or something, maybe. Um, it probably isn't even brass actually, but little metal type material on there. I was curious to see if these would come off. They really don't. Just a roper style heel. I don't know how tall that is, maybe like an inch, but it's pretty comfortable to wear. They fit very true to size. I was gonna say, I mean, depending on what brand you go with, I'm all over the board. I have some boots that are a 9.5, and I have some boots that are a 10.5, and a little bit of everything in between. I was doing some research, and I saw somebody say that these are going to run a little bit narrow. So I went ahead and I got the wide, just a 10E, not a double E, but just an E, and they're very comfortable. I think I probably could have fit in just a standard 10, which I'm pretty sure is about what my foot is, but they're very comfortable. Pretty true to size. What I was hoping, I bought another pair of these as a gift for my father. I got him a different color of those ostrich, and he has a pretty wide foot, so I got him some double E's, and he's really happy with them. And he has a hard time finding shoes that do fit the way that he needs them to, so that I think is really cool. Order came in, I don't know, maybe a week and a half later, came in a little Alpha Western Wear boot box. In the Alpha boot box, just very generic. Let's say, as you can tell, they have the sizing, and then they stamped it with the width on that little sticker. Inside of that, they came with some little inserts. They had cardboard inserts in those came in ones. The ostrich ones actually came with like a foam insert with like a felt top that were a little bit fancier. Maybe it's supposed to be kept to kind of help keep the shape of the shaft, and all the paper in the bottom, of course. I don't really have any crazy complaints. The one thing I'll say is there was a handful of just little like threads that, not a lot, but there was a few, 2, 3, maybe 4 threads that were just kind of poking out. If you take a lighter by them, just singe them up. They were perfect. Yeah, I don't know. There's a few things, maybe if you wanted to be super, super particular, that you could say, oh, maybe that wasn't done 100%. But I give these a solid 99. And really, if you're expecting them to be completely perfect, probably don't need to be buying anything, honestly. I don't know if you're ever going to be happy with that. But this pair too, the same thing. There's a couple of these pieces that were just like threads and stuff sticking up. One thing I do know that is a little bit different is this side on both of the boots seems to be finished like all the normal full quill ostrich I've seen. I was gonna say, it's got the quills, they're kind of pressed down, they're just kind of right there, right? Well, on the inside, for whatever reason, it almost seems like the quills aren't as pressed down. They almost stick out just a hair more. I don't know what that is, why it is. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know if they were supposed to like trim them or invert them or somehow snug them down. But overall, not a huge issue. Just something I noticed that was kind of funny. Yeah, I don't really have any other things. As I say, the shaft design on some of them aren't my favorite. I think these are pretty basic, pretty solid overall. They're almost like a nubuck material or something. This is just normal cowhide, but it's got the recessed stitching right there, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. I'm sure I'm not still a huge fan of that, but it's not that big of a deal. I was gonna say that might just be my biggest complaint on these, and for that I think I did really well. As you can tell, these are the same inside as that other pair, and I don't know if you can read it, but if you look in there, if you can see it, it will say right off the top, the vamp is made of ostrich, the lining is leather, the sole is leather, and they are made in Mexico. It's got the Alpha logo and a little ostrich printed on the bottom. These ones, they don't have an animal in them. No crocodile or alligator, whatever these are, I don't know actually. But right on the top it says the vamp is made of fuscus. And I did some research, and that is the same thing as caiman. I don't remember if that's in Spanish or just another word for it. And then the lining and the sole are also made of leather, made in Mexico. So, yeah. overall, these are great. I would recommend them. Let's say I know that that fish skin, I can't pronounce it, to be honest with you, paraku or whatever that is. That fish skin is really popular right now. I have a pair of boots that were made by a different company that I really love, and I know that they're doing a lot of ads on them. I don't know that I can recommend buying the prints, but guys, for that 250 and then shipping or whatever that they're advertised on Alpha's website for that fish skin, I could recommend them. I think I need to buy a pair, just because I like them. I'm very happy with these two that I bought, but I think that would be the way to go for people wanting those boots. Obviously the Caymans, these are timeless. Ostrich, these are super soft, super comfortable. They just look nice. All of these I definitely recommend. I think Alpha is, it's legit. It really is. Like I said, these are not a handmade boot. These are not a true like Anderson bean that you're going to be spending $700 or $800 on. But for $300, $200, I don't think you can buy a better authentic exotic dress boot. I mean, you might be able to get a normal cowhide boot or even a rough out boot that would be good for every day, maybe a little bit higher quality if you wanted to work in or something, but you're not going to be able to touch any of these dress boots, any of these exotics or anything like that for this price. I mean, typically these are going to be almost twice of what they're asking, even from some of the other brands that may not do the best job. They all come out of the same area, maybe even made in the same factory, but overall I do recommend them. I'm not like sponsored or anything at all. I was just thinking when I seen the ads, seen the website, I went to go do my own research. There's not a lot of reviews out there. There's a handful of people that are unboxing these boots, and that's good and all, but they have enough pictures on the website. I got an idea what they look like. What I was concerned about is how they were going to wear. If they're comfortable, if they're going to be true to size, if they're going to be decent quality at least, if people are going to be complaining about them falling apart after just getting them. I mean, if they're not real or something. But I think I've kind of checked all the boxes on that. They are authentic. The price difference, like I said, they're made in Mexico. I think they almost kind of skipped the middleman and they just sell them for a more reasonable price. Obviously, they have options that are made in America, like your Anderson Beans or some of those other companies, and those ones do cost more. They're about the same price, maybe just a hair cheaper, but they're more similar in price. These ones, they're able to get them cheaper, just because of where they're coming from. The company is legit. I mean, I haven't spoke to them. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but I haven't spoke to them directly, so I don't know how their customer service is. But they are legit. They shipped. They sent me a tracking number, order confirmation, all that good stuff. They were very fair in that regard. Boots are good. They're comfortable. They broke in very quickly. Like I said, literally just wearing them for a day or two, and then they started to mold to my feet and get more comfortable. They're still pretty stiff. I haven't conditioned them or anything, but as you can tell, I mean, these were like shiny and deep black, and now they're kind of not bad, but not as brand new looking. Like I have worn them. They're starting to soften up a little bit. Like I said, the rubber is almost just barely getting my heel drag in there. The logo, the embossed logo is going away. You know, these have actually been worn, and I'm happy. I really am. They were comfortable. They were good quality overall. They look nice. They fit good. I have no complaints with Alpha Western Wear. I think if any of you guys want to get a nice pair of boots, go that way. I know that they run deals and stuff. Actually, I'm a big cheapskate. The reason I bought these two right off the bat, and then like I said, a gift and all that, I got these on the Black Friday sale, and they did a hell of a deal for that. So I thought I might as well order a few pairs instead of just one, you know, to try them out. Worst case scenario, I have to send them back or just threw away a little bit of money, you know. But if you got the money, go that way. You can buy nicer boots. You absolutely can. But you're going to be spending well over that, twice the price to be able to get this equivalent, okay? I think these are as good as $400, $500, and $600 boots, if not very close behind them from some of the more well-known name brands. They're not going to be as good as like the handmade ones, as I was saying. They're probably not going to be as good as the ones that are over 1,000 or thousands. But for the price point, you really cannot beat these. I don't think you can go wrong. If you guys got any questions or anything you want to add, people who have had these boots and have had experiences of good or bad, please leave that down below. I want anybody who's trying to do some research of their own to be able to see these and to get as much as they can. Like I said, that's the reason I made this video. There just isn't anything online about them. The website is legit, the company is legit, the boots are legit, they're comfortable, decent quality, good quality even, and I have no complaints. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you guys have had some boots from Afla, how that went, or if you're planning on getting a pair. I can try to leave a link for that section on the website I was talking about. We'll just go in, it'll be under the genuine or authentic exotics, whatever wording they use, and then it'll be under that drop bar. And like I said, these are going to be the ones that are somewhere between that $200 and $300 range. The ones that are below that are maybe fudged a little bit, and then the ones that are above that, I'm sure they're probably a good boot. But if I'm going to spend that much money, I don't know if I would go with Afla, to be honest. But for $200 to $300, you cannot go wrong with these. I highly recommend. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time.